the more we know about juniper berries, they have a wealth of medicinal properties that we haven't even begun to understand.
I think being as aromatic as they are,
Right.
that the aromatic oils would have the usual antimicrobial effect.
Right, right. One of the compounds in juniper is deoxypodophyllotoxin. Try that one on. And that is why it's such a great antiviral. So you can actually push just this many juniper berries into a mortar and pestle, crush them up a little bit, pour some hot water over it, cap it, infuse it, and that would be a really great way to take a drink of the best antiviral tea, fresh, aromatic, easily goes down, not hard to stand, not too bitter to the taste, but it would be a great way if you didn't know what you were sick with, but something's going around the office. You don't really know which virus. You don't know if the vaccine you took is or isn't targeting this mutated strain. This would be a great multi-antiviral tonic for many people to know about.
Which must be why they put it in gin.
Exactly, because juniper, gin, Ginevra, was, in fact, it's where the name Jennifer originally came from too, because it was such a revered medicinal beverage. Now we think of gin as perhaps not such a revered beverage, but nonetheless, juniper was made into gin because it was a medicinal effect. It wasn't just diuretic, it was actually a little bit of an immune boost, and that's why it was so often used in the tropics by people who were trying to prevent this illness. It was taken from Europe, from the Mediterranean regions, even Central Europe, into other parts of the world to keep people well when they were facing microorganisms that they had no idea how to handle.
I like gin and tonic.
This is a carob tree. It's also called St. John's bread tree because St. John in the Bible, when he was fasting out in the desert, lived on honey and on the pods from this tree. It's called in botanical nomenclature Serotonia siliqua, and that is because the seed has the shape like that, and that is what gives it its species name. Now, many people know that as these pods fatten and develop, there are little seeds inside that are quite hard, but it's the fruit that those seeds are in, just like a pea pod. In fact, this tree is in the pea family. And those brownish, hard carob pods are what we grind up into a substitute for chocolate. Now, in traditional times where carob is native, and it's native in a lot of parts of the world, it's a food because it's such a great carbohydrate source. If you're starving, your cattle and your tribe can absolutely live on carob, just like St. John did when he was on hard times. So carob is a really good nutritional support. There are compounds that make the carbohydrates not so hard on our blood sugar metabolism, make it a little bit easier to digest. And more importantly than that, the thing that's so cool about this tree is that it's abundant when it's fruiting. And the fruit, the carob pods, are used for children's and adults too, for diarrhea, which is a major killer around the world. So if we have an inexpensive, abundant, easy to grow crop that is not only nutritious, and it goes down pretty easily, it's also a great way to deal with infant diarrhea from bacterial infections particularly. It can be even used in an emergency basis. I know in Central America, if you've got the runs, most people don't go to the drugstore. Most people will look for the carob tree and they'll start to grind up the pods, or they'll know somebody who already has the pods dried and ground up and ready to roll. And it's really easy. Within 1 day, 2 days, you're out of misery. So this is not only a great food crop for us to consider, but it's also a delicious way to increase vitamins, to stay well, and to keep on hand for an emergency.
Recent pieces of research that I've read about this is that the green pods have been juiced.
Just like this one here.
Just like that one there. And that the juice is used anti-cancer. It prevents cancer cells from creating a blood supply. And
so it's anti-angiogenic.
And then they die off.
Right.
So this is very similar to things like sea cucumber and so forth that they're using.
Right.
And the other thing that I saw was that these leaves These are all, they have
Here.
great properties. This is better than green tea.
In what way is it better than green tea?
It has a higher concentration of the catechins.
Oh, the ECGC.
Yes.
That nobody really knows how to pronounce.
Exactly.
But we always use the abbreviations so that we don't sound as foolish as we sometimes feel like we are on the inside. Is that what the one you mean?
Yeah,
that compound?
That compound, the one that I can read but I cannot pronounce. Yes, that's the one.
Uh-huh.
And so I'm now, as I'm pruning this tree, taking the leaves home. And I found because they're so tough, they're very leathery,
Right.
that
They
it
are.
doesn't make a very good infusion.
Mm-hmm.
So I have been making a decoction with them.
So what did you do? Did you take a handful of leaves, fresh, put them in cold water, bring it to a boil?
And then I let them sit for 15 minutes,
Covered,
covered.
right? And then you strained it, and how did it taste?
It was very mild. You couldn't, it would almost no flavor at all.
Oh, that's interesting, because it's very astringent when I'm chewing on the leaf right now, which makes me guess that there are tannins in here, and I don't even know what else. Because I've never known about using the leaves, and all of my years of loving St. John's bread or carob and using it for people who were sensitive to chocolate or couldn't take the caffeine. Oh, there isn't caffeine in this, right?
No,
So
not that I
when
know of.
replacing the green tea with the carob tree leaves, my gosh, we have an abundant supply. It's not endangered. It's not going to be expensive. So this is a really good caffeine-free antioxidant that people can use for all the things you would use green tea for.
And this is evergreen, so you can pick it all year long.
You know, it's grown in lots of the ranches that are in my part of the state. Hundreds of years ago, they would line the big ranches with carob trees because it was fodder for the animals as well. And not only would you be able to collect the pods and use them that way, but they make amazing shade. So when I'm thinking about global warming and climate change, I know that some of the 100-year-old or even 70-year-old trees that are 50 or 60 feet high, they throw out an amazing umbrella of shade that is intensely reassuring in the middle of a heat wave in California. So maybe we should be planting more carob trees.
Yeah.